everybody, Llewellyn here with Warm to Whimsy. We are going to be working on this dresser behind me, and I'm going to be painting some flowers into it. Today I'm just getting that background in. It's a new one, and we're just getting started on it. I will be using, well, I'll go over the colors as I use them, but I'm kind of using a little palette here and mixing the colors for my flowers on it. So I will go over that as I teach, as I go along. Today I will be using a medium brush. So I've got this one, and then I have some smaller artist brushes. I'll show you the sizes in a second here. They're in my little, they were being rinsed. So this one's probably about, it might be 1 inch, might be 3/4. I think it's smaller than an inch. And then I've got a small one for some details and this middle-sized one. And that's what I'm using to get my flowers on here. So I'm getting my base on, and it looks like it's a little bit crazy looking, but my beginnings are always a little bit crazy looking. So let's just hop right in and get started. The main colors that I have been using are aubergine, peony, lucky lavender. I'm sure you guys can pretty much see. I used some apricot and flamingo and cotton for the white. So far that's it. I'm sure I'll be adding in a few more. I've got like, I don't know if you guys can see. I've got a whole ton of them down there open and ready to go, so just in case. Okay, I'm gonna get my aubergine here in the middle. This is how I start my flowers, and they're super basic. The brush is a little bit damp. I don't want it too damp, and I'm not spraying my piece. This piece was already painted, so I sanded all of the rough lines off of it, and then I did slick stick to make sure whatever was under there it would stick to, and it really sticked. It was good. And then I did 1 coat of cotton over the top. So it's looking nice and white. A good background to begin for this painting. So in the middle, I'll start with the aubergine, and then I have my little palette here, and I'm gonna take some peony, and I already had aubergine on my brush, and I'm just gonna mix that peony right in there. I also use a lot of my misting bottle. I use that to spray my palette with, keep it nice and damp. I'm using some cotton in there, and peony, the aubergine color, kind of grays it out a little bit, and we'll start to get some of our petals in there. So I'm gonna have this flower pointing this way. This one's pretty straight up and down, so I'll have this one point a different way. And I'm gonna surround this circle. And I've just got nice thick paint on my brush. And I'm just gonna form out some petals. These beginning stages, it doesn't look so great, which is okay. Just getting the size of your flower in there, and the sort of colors. I go lighter and lighter. I start with the darks and then add in all the lights. Okay, so I added a little bit more white to my mix that I've got going on. And you can see when I add that, it kind of makes a flower edge. And I'm gonna go into a little bit of that apricot that makes for a really bright color when I mix it in. And you can add that to the tops of your petals. We're still blocking it in, but I'll do a little bit of this as I go along too. So this flower, you can see, it kind of looks like a mess, and that is how they start. That is a-okay. Once we add in our layers, it'll all start to come together. And I'm just kind of adding in a little more pink here, a little more purple there, just to kind of break it up a little bit. So I kind of make a blob, a blob of a flower that is darker in the center. And let's keep going. So I had a bit of apricot on my brush. That'll add some little highlights in there. And while it's still wet, I like to just blend in a little bit of white along and start to form those leaves, or those petals, not leaves. I might grab my smaller brush for this part. It's still a little bit wet, so I'm taking that white trying to show you guys. I'm trying to get a good angle so you all can see. And you see how that looks like a petal has formed and it's coming into the center of the flower. And you basically, with a lighter color, you could use more of the apricot colors, you can use more purples for this. Kind of just depends on what you're going for. And I will come back and do more lights and more dark areas. So where the petals would be going towards the center of the flower, where they kind of disappear into the flower, you can add more of that aubergine in there and make them look like they're going further back. Just make it darker. Dixie Belle blends so well. I'm gonna have to wait for it to dry to get it really good. To get a really good dark again. I'm gonna make this a little bit, just kind of round it out a little bit. Maybe paint some other leaves or petal. I keep calling them leaves. Paint some other petals coming out. Moving on, we're gonna work on this one. This one is halfway done, and the one above it it's getting there. It's still a little bit damp. I want to go in and just kind of touch everything up too. And I'm going to come in here and add some of these details on this one. So I'm going to have the tops lighter. That's where the light's going to be hitting it. And I already kind of did the same thing on this that I did down here. This flower is going to be a little bit darker. They'll all be slightly different shades. And this one's dry. And I'm just taking that cotton with just a hint of the other colors on it. It is almost all cotton. And I'm just barely like brushing it down, but barely even touching. So taking that cotton with just a hint, I think it mostly has peony and aubergine in it. It is just ever so slightly pinkish. And I know it's hard with the glare to see the colors. And I'm just going right over the top of those colors I already had and just starting with a harder line and gently dragging my brush. And it starts to come alive. And I'll add some highlights in there, making like little petals coming up in other places. Some on my brush, and it's just a flat smaller brush I'm using. And I'm doing just little outlines. It doesn't have to be perfect. Flower petals are never one shape or never perfect, so it's kind of fun to paint them like this. And I'm kind of just pulling back in the direction that that petal would have been shaped. I might also come back and go in with some peony and Lucky Lavender kind of mixed up, because as you can see from this one, my brights, they kind of got muddy when I went and shaped everything, so that's okay. I expected that. So I'm gonna make this peony and Lucky Lavender color, and I'll bring some of that in because I really want them to pop. Maybe along like the bottoms of the petals. And then we can come back and do some of our darks as well. Again, just really softly. I honestly don't have much paint on the end of my brush. And I'm gonna go in with my tips, or my little tiny brush that does like all the details right here. And I'm gonna get that aubergine. And I'll just sort of outline some stuff. And I'm just adding some darks back in. You can you know, you can go back and forth a little bit between the lights and the darks. I think this, I washed my brush out a little bit because it, so it watered this aubergine color down. I'm gonna go in kind of between where my petals are. I'm gonna go around here with some of my apricot. And I'm just gonna keep filling this around these flowers in as I go. I've got daisy over here. I wanted to have some yellow in there. Maybe mix the daisy with my apricot, make a really bright, pretty color. I'm getting just some of the little around it. I just kind of wanted to, what did I want? Just look a little more abstract, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but have some of those flowers and stuff in there. So I'm gonna do aubergine and my yellow, and a little bit of apricot. It actually makes kind of a sandy color. I'm just kind of using what I've got open right now too. And I'm gonna go around this flower just a little bit. It's what I did over here too. Maybe a hint more aubergine in that mix. It's getting kind of yellowy. We're gonna continue. I wanna have some dark areas around them and some lighter areas. I get a lot of my inspiration from like Pinterest, and I've been pinning for like a month waiting for this dresser to be next. I'm gonna go around it a little bit. I'll probably end up blending that into the apricot. We're waiting for this one down here to dry, and then I'm gonna go in and add some details to that one too. Okay, I also had this peony. I just have one of those pads, wax paper pads for my palette. Peony and apricot, that makes a really bright color. And maybe some flamingo. Flamingo's the really bright orange. You get this really, like if you mix peony and flamingo, it's really, see this really pretty pink color. And I'm just gonna keep moving out. I'm gonna have probably another flower somewhere around here eventually. Maybe I'll keep mapping this out as I go. I don't want them to all be the exact same like space away. I want to kind of connect them a little bit. And I think I'll do another flower right here. So as we go along, I'll get those started too. Just while I have these colors on my brush, I wanted to come through and kind of add them in around everything. And the yellow that I'm using is Daisy. This is kind of my messy stage, so like I'm still figuring out where I want everything. Getting my background in there slowly. But I like to show people the whole process, so. There we go. Kind of dull that down. I got that a little bit dark. I'll be adding in like more greens and stuff, but I really want to get my background in there first. It needs leaves. It needs leaves and green. It's getting a bit dark. I'm going to add some cotton into my pinky mix that I just did. Cotton is just a white. I could just use that apricot straight up. It's like a lighter color. And I'm going to start to surround this flower. gonna get my aubergine again. That is my deepest color. It's going in the center of my flowers. I'm gonna have this one facing the opposite way. So I'm gonna put it facing kind of down. And I kind of make my brush strokes in the direction that the petals would be going, even at in this step. And we'll lighten that aubergine, add a little bit of peony into it, and get some petals in there. But yes, this is kind of the messy fun part, so. The beginnings are always my favorite part. They're a little more free, like you're just kind of starting out, figuring out where to place things. We've gotten pretty far, but we're gonna have to call it. I'm gonna go in really quick. We've got 5 more minutes, and I'm gonna finish up this one flower that we started on. Let me get my smaller, this brush, the flat brush, and I'm gonna go in with cotton. And it was the very first flower I did, and it's this one. So I'm gonna put the cotton is white right along the edges again, and just swoop it down. And there's a petal. And I have pretty much pure cotton. There might be some of the leftover colors in there from the other paint, but I did rinse it out. And I don't have a ton of paint on my brush, and I'm just gonna go around this one, kind of fade it into the background. I might change up the shape. I'm at an odd angle for that one, but I do like how dark it is in some areas and how light it's getting, and it almost looks like closed. All right, you guys, that's it for me tonight. I want to thank you guys for being here, and you can join me on my page on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. You all have a great rest of the weekend. What day is today? Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay, you guys have a great week then, and I'll see you soon. Bye.